You remember when I said Jake Retzlaff was on his way to Tulane? Well, I now realize that a few days ago, he is on Tulane now. Am I bothered by this? Hell no. Are you kidding me? He was average at best. People who say that Jake Retzlaff was a star QB, I gotta be smoking some whack. Stay off the weed. He was not that good. You're gonna see why. In 2025, when we play either Trace Brigade, McCain Hillstead, or Bear Bachmeyer. One of those three quarterbacks is going to start, and they're going to prove why Jake Retzlaff wasn't as good as advertised. But anyways, let's get to the video. Welcome back to Grizzly Talks Football. We got a little special video for y'all because obviously the NFL schedule, the predictions are done. So now, I'm going to do something a little different. We're going to go deep into NFL teams' history. I'm going to teach y'all some history lessons about that. The kind of history I'm talking to you about is football history. You know why? Because we're going to be discussing today the best head coaches for every single NFL team's history. And tomorrow will be the worst head coaches in every team's history. So be sure you stay tuned to that. If you are still looking for the playlist for Season 2, make sure you have it in the link in the description so you guys can go watch every single episode so you're all caught up. You also have it for future episodes. Don't forget to hit the red subscribe button down there. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single one of my videos. I don't want to delay this any further. Be sure you hit the notification bell and subscribe. It helps the channel a lot. Without further delay, let's get started. First up on NFL best head coaches of all time, we're going to go with Arizona Cardinals. We're going to do this by alphabetical order and city, just like we did for the NFL schedule predictions. But anyways, Arizona Cardinals, I got Bruce Arians as the best head coach. Sure, Ken Whisenhunt was the only coach for Arizona Cardinals franchise to lead them to a Super Bowl. But Bruce Arians was the most consistent coach in Cardinals history, and he was consistently very good. His first 3 years with the Cardinals, he had no lower than 10 wins. He only finished with a losing record once, and he did make the playoffs twice, and he also had a division title with Arizona. 13-3 record, best season in Cardinals history. Oh yeah, they lost to the Panthers both times, as well as in the playoffs. One losing record in 5 years, never finished last in the NFC West. What else can you say except this guy was crazy good? The NFC West was just so competitive in 2013. 49ers, the Seahawks were some of the best teams in the NFC. There was a reason why they were only third in the division with the 10-6 record. Somehow they didn't make the playoffs because that NFC was so good that year. But anyways, of course, Bruce Arians is the best coach for the Arizona Cardinals. For the Atlanta Falcons, I hate saying this, but Mike Smith's the best head coach in Falcons history somehow. For people that say that Dan Quinn or Dan Reeves should have been there because they led the Falcons to a Super Bowl in each of their tenures, I disagree. We had a better age in early Matt Ryan football. Missed the playoffs only 3 times in the 7 years that he coached, and he actually finished with a winning record 5 out of 7 seasons. He was the first-year head coach when the Falcons drafted Matt Ryan. We had an 11-win season. We had 2 number 1 seeds in the NFC with him as a coach. He helped Matt Ryan become a Hall of Fame level quarterback in the NFL. So, really good for him. And he later became an MVP after Mike Smith. People seem to always forget who was the coach for the Falcons teams that got the number 1 seeds in the NFC in 2010 and 2012. Well, there you go, Mike Smith. He did win a Super Bowl with the Ravens. He was, he was the defensive assistant and defensive line coach when the Ravens won the Super Bowl in 2000, so that was really good. We had guys like Matt Ryan, Michael Turner, Michael Jenkins, Roddy White, even Julio Jones on offense. I think we had Steven Jackson and Tony Gonzalez on offense as well, a good offensive line. And on defense, we had Keith Brooking, John Abraham, so many great guys, Jamal Anderson. Sorry, I'm trying to remember these names because it felt so long ago since we were actually an elite team. Oh yeah, Sean Witherspoon as well. Thomas Deku, Lawyer Malloy. We had so many great players on defense. Yeah, don't get me started on Jonathan Babineau as well. That front four, which Abraham, Anderson, and Babineau, Those were the times. But anyways, let's move on. I think we're getting a little bit too ahead of ourselves with the Falcons. Moving on to the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, it's John Harbaugh. Sure, Brian Billick had probably the best season in Ravens history with the old-time NFL defense. However, his teams were wildly inconsistent. Did not make a single AFC Championship game after that 2000 season. They actually only made the playoffs 3 times after that huge season in 2000. Here's the thing with John Harbaugh. He was actually a more consistent winner than Brian Billick. Won a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco. He was extremely consistent. Made the playoffs. I'm trying to count this up. In the 17th season so far that Coach John Harbaugh has coached, he's made the playoffs 13 times. 4 AFC Championship appearances, 1 Super Bowl ring, and 6 AFC North Division titles. Holy shit. Heading into his 18th season, he is definitely favored to make the playoffs for a 14th time, which is nuts. 7 times out of the last 8 seasons, which is quite impressive. Had Joe Flacco, Lamar Jackson as quarterbacks. Had a ton of great players. Ray Lewis, Ed Reeves still in the end of their careers. Steve Smith, of course, in his late years with the Ravens. A couple of other players like Derrick Henry on offense. Roquan Smith now. Marlon Humphrey. Nnamdi Madubuike on the defensive line, or at least captaining the defensive line. They just had a ton of great players that played for the Baltimore when John Harbaugh was around. Buffalo Bills. For those of you saying Sean McDermott, you have no idea who Marv Levy is, because Levy was the best head coach of Bills history. So let me tell you about Marv Levy's stats here. He made the playoffs in 8 of 9 seasons before his final season in 1997 when he went 6-10. Just don't count his first 2 years. Those when the Bills were absolute ass. In that span, he won 6 division titles, made the Super Bowl 4 straight times, AFC champions rather. Won 2 UPI NFL Coach of the Year awards, 6 division titles like I said, 8 playoff berths, 4-time AFC champions, 1 Sporting News NFL Coach of the Year in 1988. He made 4 Super Bowls, damn it. Do you guys realize how hard it is to make 1 Super Bowl? Now think about making 4 straight fucking Super Bowl! And Marv Levy did it 4 straight times. That's nearly unheard of. We've seen quite a bit of teams now making 3 straight Super Bowls like the Patriots and Chiefs nowadays. But make it 4 straight? Now that's a crazy feat. Oh yeah, that's an all-time record. Carolina Panthers, I'm actually going to go with Ron Rivera on this one. Here's the thing about Ron Rivera. He did not do well in Washington, I will give you that. He just never finished with a winning record in Landover, Maryland. But in Carolina, he made the playoffs 4 times in his 9 seasons. He actually made it 4 times in 5 years, which is crazy. Including the year in 2014 when they went 7-8-1. Best part was that they actually won a playoff game along with the Seahawks back in 2010. They even had their best season since and up to date at 15-1 in 2015 with MVP Cam Newton. Also had guys like David Funchess, Jonathan Stewart, who was a beast. Kelvin Benjamin, he was good for a while. Luke Kuechly was a monster. I mean, man, Josh Norman when he was good. Now, Ryan Khalil at the offensive line. You got Thomas Davis, Greg Olsen at tight end, Kawan Short. And don't get me started on Trey Turner as well as a guard. Man, this team was stacked that year. He had to be the most successful coach in Panthers history. Only one other coach to make it to a Super Bowl besides one in 2003, which was John Fox. But the thing about Ron Rivera, when he was at Carolina and he was a good coach, he was very consistent with winning. Chicago Bears. We're going to deep dive in Bears history here. Hey y'all, I just wanted to let you know that the guy I'm about to be talking about here is actually George Hollis. Back early when the Bears were first created, there was a guy who led Chicago to, let me check my notes real quick. Oh yeah, 8 NFL championships in his career, all with the Bears. You guys know how many times he spent as a head coach? I think it was 40 years as the Bears coach. He actually became the owner in 1921 while coinciding with being the head coach of that team. That's how great he was. And guess what? In his 40 years as an NFL head coach with the Bears, guess how many times this guy had a losing record? He only had a losing record a grand total of 6. 6 times he only had a losing record. He won 6 NFL titles as a coach. He won 8 with the Bears organization. Easily the best coach in Bears history. Cincinnati Bengals. I'm actually going to go with Forrest Gregg from 1980 to 1983. In his 4 years with the Bengals coach, the least games that he has won was actually 6. So he was a damn consistent head coach. Won a division title. He made the Super Bowl in 1981 to 82 season, where they unfortunately lost to the Niners in that huge comeback that would have gotten them their first ring ever. They had a quarterback by the name of Ken Anderson who was balling out for them. Also had, I believe now he's the commentator for Sunday Night Football, Chris Collinsworth. He was the very first one to have a 1,000-yard receiving season, and Pete Johnson had a 1,000-yard rushing season. So that was a good trio on offense. As in the first 1,000-yard receiving season in team history. That was Chris Collinsworth's accomplishment with them. Not much really else to say. He was the best coach, even though he only lasted 4 years with them. Cleveland Browns, one of the big dumpster fire franchises in NFL history. Their best coach was actually Paul Brown. Let me tell you, this guy won 7. Yes, I'm dead serious. 7 world championships with the AAFC. And as far as NFL championships, he won 3 of them. Back then, it wasn't divisions, it was conference titles. So NFL conference titles, he won 7 of them. 3 times Sporting News Coach of the Year, 1 time UPI Coach of the Year. And man, he only finished with a losing record once in his time with the Browns. He only missed the playoffs 5 times in 17 years, and that was actually 5 of the last 7 seasons with him as a Browns coach. He was quite easily the best coach for the Browns in their entire history when you take a look at it. Dallas Cowboys, no question it is Tom Landry. His accolades include a gold jacket in 1990, but here's the more important part. 2 Super Bowl titles, 5 NFC championships, 12 division titles, 2 Eastern Conference championships, 18 playoff berths, 1 AP Coach of the Year, 1 Sport News Coach of the Year, 1 UPI Coach of the Year, that's all in 1966, and 1 UPI NFC Coach of the Year back in 1975. Started off slow in his first 6 seasons, not making the playoffs, but 1965 is when everything changed. Finally had a record of at least 500, but then he started winning and kept on winning. It was only the final 3 years that he was with Dallas that he had losing records after 1965. Starting in 1966, ending to his final season in Dallas, which is 1988, which is 23 seasons. He only missed the playoffs 5 times. Guy was Mr. Dallas Cowboys up until Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson came around. And now they suck because of Jerry Boy. Denver Broncos, I actually decided to pick Mike Shanahan as the best head coach for that team. Here's why. The least games he won as a coach was 1999 when he only won 6 games. So to call this guy inconsistent, you quite literally don't know ball. Sure, he was bad with the Rams and he was okay for 1 season with Washington, but with the Broncos, he was the man. Only finished with a losing record twice and made the playoffs 7 times, won 2 Super Bowls, and he actually won 3 division titles with the Broncos because his 4th came with Washington. Oh yeah, that's why he's in the Broncos Ring of Fame, so greatest coach in Broncos history is Mike Shanahan. All 32 NFL teams is a long list, so I'm going to have to try to go quick. For the Detroit Lions, I decided to go deep into the Lions' history because the only times they were really good was back when they first started. I just decided to go with the guy who coached for the Lions for 6 years and became a 2-time NFL champion with Detroit, Buddy Parker. only finished with a losing record one time, made the playoffs 3 straight times from 1952 to 1954, and even won back-to-back NFL titles. Actually made 3 straight NFL championships, unfortunately lost to the Browns in 54. He was the first guy who was nearly close to doing a 3-peat with Detroit. Of course, you know Bobby Lane was a beast for him. For the Green Bay Packers, I think there's only one real good choice for this one. It's quite obvious. It's the guy that the Super Bowl trophy was named after, Vince Lombardi. Let's take a look at these stats. 2 Super Bowl titles, but 5 NFL championships, including a 3-peat. 5 NFL Western championships. 1 division title, which is NFL Central. I think Western was kind of a division championship as well. 6 playoff berths, and he got a Coach of the Year in 1959 from UPI and AP, and he was 1961 Sporting News Coach of the Year. You guys want to know the best part? Not once with the Packers did he have a losing record. Yeah, that's right. In his 9 seasons with the Packers, he never once had a losing record, and he only missed the playoffs 3 times. How many double-digit win seasons, you ask? 5 of them. Only one of them, which was 1963, was that he had 11 wins and he missed the playoffs somehow. Maybe it was you had to win your division outright to be able to make the playoffs or something, but yeah, rules were quirky in 1960s. Without a shadow of a doubt, Vince Lombardi was the greatest head coach in Packers history, and no one can dispute that. Nobody. Indianapolis Colts, this one's a little interesting. I could have put somebody for 2 teams here, but I decided to roll with somebody else. My pick for the best head coach in Colts history is actually Tony Dungy. You know what's crazy about this? Is that he made the playoffs with the Colts every single season he was with the team. I'm dead serious. He coached for them for 7 years and made the playoffs every time. All credit goes to really Peyton Manning and his great offense, but that's not to say Tony Dungy didn't build a great defense, because he did. Really, enough said. He is definitely the best coach in Colts history. Making the playoffs every single season is really difficult. Trust me, I would know. I didn't even know about this, but he only had a losing record 1 time his entire time as a head coach. That's impressive, and he only missed the playoffs twice, and that was both with Tampa Bay. Jesus Christ, man. That is unreal. Jacksonville Jaguars, no surprise here, it's Tom Coughlin. He is the only coach in the Jags' whole entire history to have a career-winning record with the team. Before, he was the most important coach for the 21st century New York Football Giants. He took a coaching job at Jacksonville after his time with Boston College. Started off slow in the first season with them, going 4-12, but they made the playoffs 4 straight times after that, from 1996 to 1999. So obviously there were some clips that were missing, so let me tell you what was said. Tom Coughlin made it to 2 AFC championships, including 1999 season, where they had a franchise best 14 wins. They unfortunately lost to the Titans for a 3rd time in that season. That was their best chance of a Super Bowl. But then, the Chiefs are next, and the coach is Andy Reid. And he only missed the playoffs with the Chiefs 1 time in 2014. They had a winning record then and still missed the playoffs. I rest my case. Good luck, Andy Reid, on going for your 10th straight division title now. Can anyone dethrone Kansas City in the AFC West? Probably not. For the Raiders, this one's a little tough. I'm between 2 people. I'm actually going to go with the guy that didn't have a losing record and created the latter. The former, which is known as John Madden. Who was the other guy? His name is Tom Flores, but he was a beast with the Raiders too. This guy, John Madden, didn't have a single losing record with the Raiders in his time as the coach. Only missed the playoffs twice and did win a Super Bowl in 1976. His namesake was taken for a popular video game franchise, well, up until recent day. Or at least the last, 8 games or something like that. But aside from the whole video game bullshit, the Raiders were absolutely one of the best teams in the NFC with John Madden as their coach. That's why he takes the cake here over Tom Flores. It's the only difference really is because Tom Flores had losing records twice. For the Chargers, I mean, there were quite a bit of pretty good coaches here. Martin Schottenheimer comes to mind. Can't remember who was the guy that led to a Super Bowl. Was it Bobby Ross? Yep, he won a championship in 1994, AFC championship rather, not Super Bowl because he lost to the 49ers. But for the best coach in Chargers history, we gotta go all the way to the beginning, where we see a guy by the name of Sid Gilman. Only had losing records 5 times in, let's see how many years he did. Oh, so he actually only had a losing record 5 times in 16 seasons as the Chargers coach. Actually won 6 division titles and 1 AFL championship. Yeah, you forgot the Chargers used to be in the AFL before they merged with the NFL. I think everybody calls this the golden age before the 21st century, when a guy by the name of LaDainian Tomlinson took over the hearts of Charger fans everywhere in San Diego. They actually changed to the San Diego Chargers in 1961. But Sid Gilman was the original and best coach for the Chargers' entire history. LA Rams, I gotta give it to Coach Sean McVay over Dick Vermeil. Don't get me wrong, Dick Vermeil had a really good season in, I believe it was 1999 to 2000, when he won the Super Bowl, the first Super Bowl for that Rams franchise when they were in St. Louis. The reason why I'm not giving Vermeil the nod here is because that was his only winning season with the Rams. He only lasted 3 years with them. As for Sean McVay, he has the same amount of Super Bowl titles as Vermeil does. He actually has 4 division titles, only had a losing record 1 time, and only missed the playoffs twice. That is freaking nuts. And he's going to continue to be good for quite a long time up until he retires or somehow gets fired. You know what would have been a good candidate? Mike Martz, but unfortunately he just didn't win a Super Bowl. And he actually finished with 2 losing records. I mean, the 2005 season was when it finished because, he had a bacterial vision and he announced he was leaving the team. So I don't think I should be counting that 2005 season. So really, he only had a losing record once. But difference is, Coach McVay won a Super Bowl. Moving on to the Miami Dolphins, obviously Don Shula. How about this? I know he missed the playoffs quite a bunch, but he only had a losing record 3 times. This guy spent 26 seasons with this Dolphins team. Nuts. This guy has 12 division titles, and he won back-to-back Super Bowls, including the legendary 1972 season. Still the only perfect season in NFL history. He didn't even have a losing record in Baltimore when they were the Colts. So those winning ways came from Baltimore, but transitioned to Miami, and it generated NFL Super Bowl titles. And also becoming the greatest coach in Dolphins history. And no one comes even close. Minnesota Vikings. I'm actually going to go deep into rich Vikings history, and I'm going to say Bud Grant was the best coach in Vikings history. Not including the shortened season, this guy, Bud Grant's Vikings, only finished with less than 7 wins in his first year with the team. And also, this guy won 11 division titles and made the playoffs like a whopping 11 times or 12 times. Oh yeah, it's 12. Has an NFL championship, has a coach of the year. Fortunately, didn't win a Super Bowl, but he was still regarded as the best coach in Vikings history without a shadow of a doubt. None of those other coaches really made a Super Bowl with Minnesota. Some came close, others did not. Kevin O'Connell could catch up, so I'm not too sure, but right now Bud Grant is the best coach of Vikings history. New England Patriots. It's Bill Belichick, and no one comes close. This man only finished with less than 7 wins with his time in New England twice. And he only had 4 seasons where he had a losing record. Alright, want to hear something else? Here's 3 things you really need to know that Bill Belichick is the best Patriots coach of all time. Not even close. 17 division titles, 9 AFC championships, and 6 Super Bowls. Once again, I rest my case. For the New Orleans Saints, the only coach that got him the Super Bowl in the first place, Sean Payton. His worst season was 7 wins. he was consistently good. Also due to the fact that he had Drew Brees on his team. Won a Super Bowl as well. One-time NFC champion, but 7-time division champion in the NFC South. Again, the only coach to bring New Orleans to Super Bowl. So there you go. Now, these New York teams are a little weird. I was between Tom Coughlin and Bill Parcells for the Giants, and I actually decided to just go with Bill Parcells. Started slow with his worst season in New York with a 3-12-1. I mean, you gotta start somewhere, right? But then he started winning and kept on winning. He didn't really last long in New York, but at the end of the day, he had 3 division titles, 2 NFC champions. Yep, and 2 Super Bowls. Coughlin has the same amount of Super Bowls, but I think Bill Parcells just barely gets the edge here. It was more so due to the fact that Tom Coughlin missed the playoffs more than not. As in, he missed them more than Parcells did, so there's that. For the New York Jets, I'm actually just going to go with Weeb Ewbank, the only coach to bring the Jets to Super Bowl. He won back-to-back AFL East titles. He does have a Super Bowl ring. He's the only one with a Super Bowl ring out of all the Jets coaches, so there you go. Jets history doesn't really go too well, though. I would say Bill Parcells if he brought the Jets to Super Bowl, but he didn't. 7 teams to go. Eagles' best head coach, Andy Reid. Get the hell out of here. You really think that Doug Peterson and or Nick Sirianni deserves to be the best coach in Eagles history because they were not even close. I'm telling you, Andy Reid was still coaching the Eagles. He would have definitely won 2 Super Bowls before Sirianni and Doug Peterson did. Only missed the playoffs 5 times with Philadelphia. Only had a losing record 3 times. Made it to 5 NFC Championship games total with the Eagles, including 4 straight. And actually made a Super Bowl 1 time. Did it from 2001 to 2004. Ultimately going to a Super Bowl, but losing. Sure, Peterson and Sirianni both won Super Bowls, but they were inconsistent as hell. And it's still too early to determine if Nick Sirianni really is a good head coach. Right now, he's like average at best. For the Steelers, I actually do have Chuck Noll as the best head coach. 4 Super Bowl rings. After the first 3 seasons were a disaster, he turned everything around and made the Steelers the best team of the 70s. Made the playoffs 8 straight years, and in that time won 4 Super Bowls. Yeah, making the playoffs from 1972 to 1979, and winning twice in a row, 2 times. 2 straight times they had a back-to-back. Well, 2 consecutive years and 2 different times in the 70s. Enough said. Chuck Noll, best coach of Steelers history. He won 9 division titles as well, including 7 of 8. I was also from 1972 to 1979. Just putting it out there, people who are saying Mike Tomlin. For the San Francisco 49ers, there's only one person that you need to say is the best head coach of 49ers history. Kyle Shanahan. I'm just kidding. Nope. It's Bill Walsh. In his 10 years as the 49ers head coach, he only had a losing record 3 times, and that was 3 times in his first 4 seasons. In that time, he won 6 division titles and 3 Super Bowls. Drafted quarterbacks like Joe Montana and Steve Young, even drafted Jerry Rice. Oh boy, and a bunch of others. I'm not even going to name drop them right now because we're running out of time. Moving on to the Seahawks, we got Pete Carroll, the only coach in Seattle football history to win a Super Bowl. Only had 3 losing seasons, and one of them he made the playoffs and won a playoff game against the defending Super Bowl champions at the time, the Saints, with a beastquake. Made the Seahawks an NFC powerhouse for a time, which is nuts. 5 division titles, won 2 NFC championships, and won a Super Bowl. The only Super Bowl in Seahawks history, which makes him the best coach in Seahawks history. As for the Tampa Bay Bucks, I'm between John Gruden and Bruce Arians, the only 2 coaches to win a Super Bowl. I decided to go with John Gruden. Let's be honest, Bruce Arians only went to Tampa to bring Tom Brady on board and win a Super Bowl. That's it. Sure, in 7 seasons, he had 3 losing seasons, but he did have 3 division titles and a Super Bowl. Whereas Bruce Arians only has 2 division titles. That's why John Gruden gets the edge here. Tennessee Titans / Houston Oilers, it's Bum Phillips. Those of y'all saying Jeff Fisher because he was the only one to bring the Titans to a Super Bowl? Hell nah. I know he only lasted 6 years with Houston, but he only had a losing record one time in a 6-year stint with them. And make it 2 AFC championships from 1978 to 1979 back to back just puts the icing on the cake, huh? If only Jeff Fisher not making the Super Bowl would have made this so tough. And finally, for Washington, I think you probably have already guessed it, it's Joe Gibbs. Surprisingly, he actually had 2 separate stints with Washington. One was his good stint in the 20th century, the other in his 21st century, not so much. Won 5 division titles in the NFC East and 3 Super Bowl championships in the 20th century, which is crazy stuff. As far as his 4-year second stint, he only made the playoffs twice, did not win a single division title. Didn't even make the NFC Championship game. And he only finished with a losing record his entire time with Washington 3 times. Once in the 20th century, twice in the 21st century. So, I just now realized I completely forgot about the Houston Texans. My apologies. Just to keep it brief, their best head coach, in my opinion, was Gary Kubiak. And that's my road down of the best NFL head coaches for every team's history. That was a long one. Whew. I'm out of breath now because that was all 32 teams. Wait, we still gotta do worst head coaches? Fuck! Anyways, I'm gonna go get a drink real quick. Well, before I do, make sure you give this episode a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you hit the red subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single one of my videos. Helps the channel a lot. This is the Chris signing off for now. Until next time, see you guys later. Peace, love, keep the Grizzly vibes with you at all times. Take care. I need a drink.